All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start on working. I'm going to start working on the T-handle for this tube right here. I've been sitting here getting my measurements together and deciding on how I want it to look and how I want to make it. So I've got a little basic sketch right there. So I've already got my dimensions down there. So what I'm going to do is this is that rod that I showed you. I'm going to shorten this, and the total length of it is going to be 5 inches long. So this area down here, I'll just face this thread off and where these flats are. So it'll be 5 inches from the flats here. I'll cut it off and then we'll do the machining. And on this end, so this would be like the end that screws in there. All right, that'll be turned down and threaded. I'm going to have an area down here on the end that's turned down to 7/8. And I am going to go ahead and put a brass plug in the end right there, so it'll be brass tipped to where it screws in and tightens into the rod there. Okay. And I'm going to use this piece of brass to make that piece here. And this is a very old prop shaft, a 1-inch brass or bronze prop shaft. Not sure of the material of the alloy, but you know it's some kind of brass, so we're going to use that. So I'll start with this. I'll go ahead and make this piece first, turn it, thread it, and then part it off, and then I'll have that piece to where this end right here, we'll drill and tap it, and I'll be able to just screw it in there and make that pretty simple. So it shouldn't be that bad of a project, but I'm going to take some footage for you and show you how it goes along the way, okay? I've got this turned to 1/2 inch minus 5 thousandths, so now I'm going to turn this area. We're going to make this 7/8. That'll be the diameter that is going to fit up into the groove that I machined. And what I'll do, so we're going to take 1/8 of an inch off. I'm just going to take 60 thousandths. Take 60 thousandths on my foot and bring it down to 7/8. That should be more than enough. So that should put me around 935 or so. 938. Okay. So we got another 16th to go right there. 63 thousandths. Alright, let's see if I hit it. There we go. About 875.5. Close enough. Alright, I'm going to make an undercut for the threads, or also known as a thread relief. Double depth of 13 pitch should be 100 thousandths. Touch that and set my 0. Go into 100. I'm going to blend the two together. The corner there. Make sure I got plenty of thread relief there. And hopefully that'll work for me. Alright, we're ready to do some threading, but first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that threading tool. I'm going to swing it around one notch. Move my mic there. Swing it around one notch and just chamfer the ends here. And this one we're just going to touch it. All right, let's do some threading. All right, I'm going to hit 3 on my thread chasing dial. And I should be able to engage on every other line or any of the numbers. Okay, that looks like 13. Let's try that real quick. So there's 2. Yep. Okay. All right, here's 4. So basically every other line, or in my case, since I started on a number, I have to hit 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move in. Let me see what I got to dial in. 13 is going to be 57, around 58 thousandths on the dial. So we're 35, here's 45. 50. Let's go to 55 and check it. Let's see. Go ahead and make sure the tops are good there. Yep, see, still tight. Need to go in a little more. That's 58. Let's see if it's going to fit or if I got to take a little more. Still tight. And by the way, this is just a standard nut that you can get at a hardware store. Nothing special about that. Take 2 more. Beginning to wonder. Alright, it's 13. I wonder if I put the wrong nut in the bin. Let me go grab another half 13 and check it. Should be going on there. Here's one of my brass nuts here. Good quality brass nut. Okay, that's... yeah, it's still a little tight. Let's take 2 more. There we go. Still a little bit tight. I got to be able to screw it into that hole with my fingers. I better take a little bit more. I don't need it to be too tight. I'm just going to go a half on the compound. and then a spring pass. There we go. That's what we're looking for there. We know we got a pretty good fit. That steel nut there just acts like it doesn't want to, like it's a little small. But all right, I'm gonna go with that. So let me set up and we'll get her parted off. All right, I've got my link set to 5/16. So what I want to do, I want to put this in my collet chuck and then put another face and chamfer on that back side. So I got this little pan here. This is one of my little flea market deals. I was going to try this, see if I can catch that thing, and you know, keep from coming up here trying to hold the thread whenever we part it off. Breaking that sharp edge off of it. Hold this thing up close. All right, well, it worked. Okay. So there we go. Now I'm just got to do a little face and that part be done. All right, I got the rod cut the length, so I'm going to go ahead and get this side face clean and chamfered. Gonna make 16 face cuts across here. All right, that should have been the final facing cut. Yeah, that'll work there. We just clean those flats up. So I'm just gonna put a chamfer there. I had thought about maybe machining a radius on the end, but I decided not to. Let's just keep it simple. I'm gonna use my carbide tool there and cut us a nice little chamfer. I think I went a little too far. There we go. Looks like 45. Okay. Just do a little bit of filing. All right, I'll use some emery and just soften it up, polish it a little bit. Being this is going to be bare metal all the time, this area here is probably just going to be painted like the base plate. All right, we got her flipped around and indicated, so we're going to true this end up, and we'll go ahead and drill and tap it for our little brass plug. All right, here's a nice new green field. Very sharp. Let's try this one. That's getting close to the bottom there, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up. Go the other way. I'm going to get a wrench and check it. Yeah, we were at the bottom there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run the bottom tap in there and make sure that it's tapped deep enough, and we'll be through with that. All right, we can do a little test fit now. I got it blown out. There shouldn't be no chips in there. Alright, it's fitting just like it should. Look at that, screws all the way in there. And you know what, I don't have to put that in the collet chuck. I can just screw that in there like that into my facing, and it'd be good to go. We might, there goes the Hellraisers. We might screw that in there last once we're done. I thought about putting just a touch of Loctite on there and screw it in and face it and let that be it. The pressure of the tool should put a little bit of torque on it and keep it in there, especially with a little bit of Loctite. Alright, so do some turning and threading and we'll be through with the lathe work. Alright, that's going to be our stop point right there, but in reality I'm going to be stopping a little bit before that because I want to cut a radius on that, a 1/4 inch radius. Alright, 115, so I'm going to dial in 120 and that'll be our finished cut on 1 inch. Alright, there we go. That's 4 thousandths under 1 inch, that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to turn a 1/4 inch back down to 7/8 right here on the end. Okay. Need a little polish, and I think my tip of my carbide's finally starting to get dull. It does good on those heavy cuts, but the fine cuts, it's not leaving a real smooth finish anymore. All right, we're good on size there. So here's a fresh Rex 49 high-speed tool that I've ground a radius on the end. That's a 1/4 inch radius. That's what we're going to use up here on the shaft. All right, just wanted to show you that. That was one of my turning tools I made for chip breaker a while back. I've got quite a few of these Rex 49s, so I've started to kind of use them up. So let's get this set and we'll cut our radius. Now this is where you got to use some cutting oil. It just really helps that tool and helps the finish there. I'm just going to try to blend it together good. Just about there. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to go over until I know the shoulder's cleaned up. Back out. There we have it. The beautiful radius with a hand ground and hone tool bit. And we'll break the edge here. We'll cut us a bevel there. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my threading tool here. I'm going to cut a bevel here and break that edge here. Okay. All right, I got my pitch gauge, and we've got a nut we're going to use. This is a standard 1-inch coarse thread nut. Zero. So yeah, I'm just going to thread it up to right about that radius there. Okay, we got it going. So, all right, 8 is going to be about 93, 94 thousandths, somewhere around there. Let's go a little faster. Let's go up to 210. What did I say? 8, 93. This is 70 here. I can already see I have I didn't think something through all the way. We're going to be cutting into our 7/8 diameter here, so we're going to have to correct that now. Dang it. All right, let me keep threading it and see. We'll go ahead and get it to fit. We should be able to just do this after. Alright, that was 75. That was 80. I know we're not there yet, but I always have to check. All right, there we go. That's a good fit there, and that'll work. All right, I've got the threads cleaned out with my solvent, and I'm just going to put a couple drops, well, one big drop, I guess, of my blue thread locker. I'm just going to go ahead and screw that in there by hand. Okay, I'm just going to leave it alone. We're going to go ahead and face it though before it sets up, which it'll take a little bit to set it up, but we're going to go ahead and face it. And I don't know if I need to take a skim across it or not. I don't know if it's really necessary, but let's go ahead and face it all. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it like that. I don't see no reason why that won't work. So let's oh, I do want to hit that a little bit right there. Just that radius, I mean. Just try to blend it in a little bit better. Like that. All right, so I'm going to take it out and see if it fits now. Okay, here's our test fit. So there's the piece there. It looks right. Okay. All right, so now I got to figure out how much I want to trim this, if any. I did just cut it a little long, but I want it proportioned right, so I think that's might be way too big. So I can decide on this last though. I don't have to do that right now. So I want to drill and ream a hole in this and see how it fits. So we'll move over to the milling machine and get that done. Okay, set up in the super spacer, and I have found center using normal edge finder techniques that everybody should know now. Just trying to find my cutting wheel. You know, we might try to use some of this other stuff. I'm still getting used to having it around that anchor lube. Maybe we'll try that instead. All right, so found the center. I'm also 3/4 from the end. That's just a good round number that I picked, so that if I do need to drill and tap it for a set screw, I've got enough meat there, you know, to support one. All right, so I'm just going to spot it, and just drill a hole. Nothing special here. So the only thing that I feel about this anchor lube, I think it does a fine job. It cools the bit, right? But whenever you're getting down in here deep like that, I think it's hard to get it to the cutting edge, because what I see it doing is when you apply it like that, okay, it's cooling a little bit right there, but as soon as you start drilling, the chips just pull everything back out of the hole. That's just what I think anyway. I might be wrong. I'm just telling you my thoughts, I guess. Okay. All right, let me go find maybe we get to use one of our new silver dimming type drills. Oh yes. Brand new drill. 47/64. This is one of those that I bought from Drillco. So I've slowed it down. We're going to run 210. At least these, they have the 3 flats on it, so if you line them up right, it shouldn't spin on you. Try to get it down in the hole there. Everything's looking good. Okay. All right, did good. All right, let me go get my reamer. All right, I got my 3/4 reamer set up, and I guess I'll go ahead and try this anchor lube again. I really prefer cutting oil on this because I know it works, but we're going to give it a shot for Stan and see how it does. Kind of packing the chips in there. That reamer's got a long lead on it, so just about to get it now. There it is. go ahead and I'm going to use the Noga. I want to go ahead and get this hole deburred. I opted to do it like this here instead of chamfering. Just so that this hole has a sharper edge to meet that instead of having a chamfer there. That's going to be so close. It's going to be hard to even get started in there straight. I don't know, man. That might, once it gets in there straight, it might push in there. But I guess I'm just going to have to push it in there to see how it's going to react, to know whether I'm going to need a, there it goes, there's that side there. Well, it acts like it's going to get tight, so now it's tight. Well, crap. Alright, I'm going to have to go tap it out of there. So we're almost done. Let me do a little more thinking on how I want to approach the length of the handle here, and I'll bring you back, okay? Alright, so on the rod here, the handle, I've been having a tough time deciding on the proper length that I want, but I actually like the length that it's at, believe it or not. 10 inches. That's the same length as my chuck key for my 3-jaw, and it's a comfortable length because you can put both hands on it comfortably. So I had marked it at 8 inches and put my hands on it, and that would still work just fine, even shorter than that. So I decided to go ahead and face it off, which I just did. Faced it and just kind of rounded the edges some, softened them. And I decided that I want to go ahead and try this at the 10-inch length right here, and see how I like it. And later on, if I think it's just too much, it looks out of proportion, then we'll trim it and face the other side. So I want to go ahead and get this pressed in here and take a look at it and see how it's going to turn out. Let's go ahead and get it started anyway. It's actually a pretty nice fit. Alright, I went over there and put a couple marks there to kind of give me a bullseye to work off of. And I got my scale here too. That is actually the press fit that I was hoping for. It's not real tight, but it's tight enough that it's going to hold. I shouldn't have to use any set screws to retain it. So we should be at 4 1/4 for both of them, for both sides there. I faced it a little bit. Okay. It looks like 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. There it is. Looks like a chuck wrench, don't it? Alright, cool. Let's go see how it looks. Alright guys, so what do you think? Does it look like it's overkill? Because if it does, it is. There it is. Man, I love it. I've been envisioning that T-handle for a pretty long time, so it's very satisfactory. You know, it's very satisfying to see that it's finally in there. So that's pretty cool that it lined up, you know, 90 degrees off the tube there also. I didn't plan that, but just about perfect right there. And I'm sure that's locked in there tight too. So I might be able to use this in order to tighten up the faceplate on the shaft. We'll give this thing once we get it, when it's all together, I'll be able to tighten this and then get the faceplate on there and probably give that thing a spin and let it hit face to face, and it'll be locked. So we'll keep that in mind. So, well, you guys can you can give me your opinions on what you think. Personally, I like it, and I would imagine I'm probably going to end up leaving it just like that, but we'll see. All right, man. Well, that's going to be it for this video. We'll move on to the final stages of the base plate, and again, I still want to put the holes here for the oilers, and we'll get to that also. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, getting ready to start back on this base plate. As you know, I've got to do some more machine work here so that we can bolt the tube down to the base plate. So I'm doing some laying out right now, scratching some more lines, and just was going to show you what I'm doing. So I found the center of the plate, which I already had an X scribed on here from whenever I did the casters. So what I wanted to do also was find a center line in the middle of the plate. So what I did there was I used my scale, and the center of the bolt pattern here and the center of this one, I took my measurement off of that, divided it in half, and I put a mark here, and then lined it up this way with the center of the X on this mark here, and scribed it across. So the way I did my hole pattern on the bottom of the tube, and then the drilled and tapped hole for the lock handle, is going to be in line to where they're facing the center of one side of the plate. So that's how I want it positioned. You know, if I need to make sure when I start my pattern that it's square, okay, so that it looks square whenever you're looking at the part. So that's what we did there. So we got to do a punch here, and then I've also got to lay out another hole pattern here on this side, just like I did for the bottom of the tube. So we still got to do that, and I wanted to go ahead and show you a couple other things that I'm working on also. Whenever I have this over the mill, I'm going to have some additional holes to drill over there. Let me bring you in a little closer, and we'll go ahead and talk about this. This is something that everybody's been discussing for a while, and I've had 1,000 ideas on how to do it, And this is the idea that I came up with, that I'm going to go with, so I'm going to share it with you, okay? All right, what I'm going to talk about is my idea on how I'm going to create a positive ground onto the shaft. All right, we've talked about it a lot. There's been a lot of guys that's had many suggestions on how they think I should do it, and I appreciate hearing everybody's ideas. There's been a lot of great ones out there. So I kind of came up with another way to do it, and I also collaborated with Tom Lipton on this. Me and him, we talked quite a bit, and I told him the ideas that I had in mind on what I wanted to do. So I already told you that I'm going to bore this, and the shaft is going to stick through the bottom end right here. So I knew that was going to take place, and also there was going to be something attached to the bottom of the shaft here that I can hook a ground to. So what he had come up with, he said, hey, I've got some copper over here that I'll let you have, and I'm sure that you can do something with this copper and attach a ground to the bottom of that shaft. And he kind of made a little sketch, and we both talked about it and came up with an idea on it. So this is what we've done. So this is that material that he had sent me that I showed in a Saturday night special. Piece of 1-inch copper right here, and this is just something that he had. Okay, sorry about that. I had somebody come up that needed something. So getting back to this, I'm trying to think where it was. I was talking about this grounding block. So this is what Tom Lipton sent me in his whenever he sent me the Thigh Master. This is the material. He said he had this stuff, and he's like, hey, we can probably make this work. So he had this copper block. This is a piece of 1-inch. It's 1x3 piece of copper flat bar, and this is something that was been salvaged. It already had these holes in it. There's the Hellraisers again. Anyway, it already had all these holes and stuff in it. So you know what he done was he basically kind of marked it to represent what he thought maybe it should look like. So drill another hole here, cut this side off, drill and tap some holes in the side. All right, so he also gave me this right here, this copper flat bar. So the idea is to do something like this right here. This is going to represent the bottom of the shaft, be right in the middle there, okay? This block is going to be bolted right here. These are going to be bolted to the side like that, and they're going to sandwich onto this shaft right here. I guess you can see that fine. So it'll kind of look like this, really, you know. So we'll slide this down. This is going to be milled some, and they're going to be bolted to this block just like that, and they're going to touch this shaft. They're going to be on this shaft all the time. And what I'm going to do, the shaft is 2 7/8, so I already know I've got to mill this down, and I want to mill it a little smaller than 2 7/8, so that even if these bars are straight, when they're bolted on here, they're pulled against this shaft all the time. They're sprung against it. Now another idea we might do, I haven't decided yet, is we might try to form one end of this. There's plenty of material here to play with, so we might try to form it on a radius to kind of fit around it just a little bit. It doesn't need to go all the way around it, but maybe just have a little bit of a radius on the end to where it'll fit around the shaft. And as I said, this will be smaller, so it'll be, once it's bolted on there, it's kind of sprung against the shaft. All right, so that's the idea right there. And then what I'm going to do on this side, I kind of drew it what I think I'll end up doing with it. So we'll have another hole drilled here. It'll bolt like that, and I'm going to have Joe down at the welding shop on his bandsaw cut this out for me like this, so that way we don't waste all this copper. And I'm going to mill it to size where this will be probably about 3/4 of an inch wide right here, and it'll be kind of sitting on there just about like that. We might do some angles to kind of dress it, make it look nice, and then with it just like that, this is my ground clamp for my machine. Okay, it fits flat plate just fine like that. So when I'm ready to hook my ground to it, I'll be able to slide that on there and clamp it just like that onto that block. See? So it'll actually be under the bottom side just like this. We'll slide it on and clamp it. And that should provide a very good current flow for the welding whenever I want to use it for that. It'll be going through here and into the shaft and up through to the faceplate. So that's my theory behind it anyway. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, and I really don't care at this point, because I think this is going to be well enough. Will work just fine just the way it is. So that's what we're going to shoot for. All right, so we got a little bit of laying out to do, so let me go ahead and get started on that. Okay, just giving you a quick little update here. So I've been laying out this whole pattern, and I decided on this block. I kept looking at it basically like that because that's how Tom had drawn on there. He's like thinking cut it off there and drew a circle for hole, but actually that back side there isn't going to matter because it's going to be to the inside. You're never really going to see it. There's two holes that's already drilled on an 1.5 inch center line, you know, equally spaced. So I'm just going to use those two holes and bolt it down to there. All right, and I'm going to do my cutting on this side right here. And then that'll leave me with two more little copper blocks here that we can use for extra material. So I laid that out there. I was going to show you. I scribed me a line in the center here. I used this little square right here to square it up and make a line. And I've got it drawn out. We've got two little marks. So I'm going to go ahead and punch it now. And those holes are drilled oversized, so you know, if we're off a touch on this, it ain't gonna kill it anyway. But I usually take my punch, I drag it down the lines, and I can usually feel it once they fall into each other. So it feels like it's right there in the crosshair. And looking at it, it looks good. All right, so I'll use Phillips bigger punch here and go ahead and widen them out just a little. All right, that'll work. So I'm gonna move on to the center now. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the center here now. We're gonna lay out the bolt pattern. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this a little bit differently than I did last time. Last time I used some spring calipers and showed you the technique that where you can step it over and keep going around and adjusting it. So this time I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use these Starrett number 92s, and on our whole diameter, our bolt pattern diameter is 5 inches. So with a 6-hole pattern, your cord length is equal to your radius. So half of 5 inches is 2.5. 2.5 would be your cord length. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And I've already got these set. These are nice rigid dividers right here that you know, you can adjust, and then you have a fine adjust right here on this side. So I've already got them adjusted to 2.5. I put it on 10 and then go to 12.5, and just by sight they're right on it, and it's close enough for what we're doing. This is going to be a clearance hole pattern, so it'll, if it's a few thousandths off, it'll still line up. That's what I'm trying to get at. So so now it's also set for our circle. So I'm going to go ahead and scratch us a circle on here. And I did a fresh hone on that point before I started here. I went ahead and put the dicum on there too, so it'd be a little easier to see. I'm just trying to get a nice little scratch on there, so it's easier to feel. Okay. All right, and then we can kind of, let's see, we can kind of check that with these here. All right, so I'd say that's 5-inch. All right, so I'm going to start. I'm gonna use this side right here to start. Okay, you could use this one or this one. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to try this, see if I can do it without slipping. That looks good right there. It's lined right up on it. All right, so I think we have success. So now it's just a matter of scratching it. Actually, I honed this side so that it would make a sharper mark right there. Okay. As I said, I try to scribe these lines so that you can take that point and drop it in. You can feel it drop in another one. Then I'll drag it. I usually drag it back, and then I can usually feel right where that X is. And that usually works pretty good. It's not every time, but usually that's the way it works out for me. Let's see how we do here. Looks good. There it is. Oh yeah. All right. Okay, we now have our 6-hole pattern, and I'm happy the way that turned out. So hopefully that was a good lesson there also on another way to do it. So all right, so when we go to the mill, I'll find the center of this punch mark, and we'll do our drilling, and I'll use a boring head to bore it to size. And then after that, These I'll just manually, I'll use my little center point and just locate the center marks with that point, lock the table down, and do the drilling. And I decided we're going to use cap head bolts here, and I did have hex head bolts, and I thought I was going to use those, but I figured a cap head bolt would look better, so I decided to go with cap head bolts. But I'm probably going to have to go buy some. I don't have any of the right length. So anyway, we'll get to the milling machine now, do some machine work. Well, we got her set up on the milling machine, and I just wanted to kind of give you highlights of what I'm doing here. I'm about to drill a center hole. You've seen me do that before. I've got it lined up using my center point that Stan made for me, and that's what we'll use to line all the holes up. Put in the drill chuck, move the table around, and come up to the center point. And usually what I'll do is, the clamps will be loose, and that last little bit, the point centers the punch mark up, and then you tighten the clamps down. So we'll start with the center hole. I'm just going to get it drilled, and then I'm going to use my small boring head, and we're going to bore it. So I'll bring you back whenever I get to the boring head. I'm making some cuts. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then after that we'll do some drilling and counterboring. And when we get to those, I'm going to show you my little counterbore kit that I have that we'll be using on those, okay? I'm using the biggest reduced shank drill that I got. That's one of those new ones that I picked up not too long ago. That's a 1 3/16. So, it didn't fit in my new set there. So I remember I had one a little bigger though. So I'm gonna drill it with this, and then we'll go to the boring head. So here's my little boring head, and I wanted to give you kind of a close-up to it because there's a couple guys that asked me about this in the past. I believe James Kilroy and Brian Block both had made mention of this little boring head of mine, and I was asked what kind it was before, but honestly guys, I really do not know who the maker is of this little unit, but it is a nice tool, and it's been used a lot by our shop. It holds a 3/4 bar or a 1/2 inch tool bit down at a 45-degree angle there. So I've got the tool bit also, which is probably what I'll end up using later after I get the hole opened up some. I'm going to start with this 3/4 bar with a high-speed tool, a little chip breaker tool, and just start getting it opened up. But it's a fine little boring head. I don't know who the maker is, but that's it. Hopefully that'll give you an idea of it right there. It does have a 7/8 shank on it, so I have a 7/8 collet for this mill, and I believe that was the only reason why we got it, is because of this boring head. We use it to hold it. Okay. All right, so I made a little test cut there. Everything seems to be working fine. And what to do is you loosen up the gib there, and I'm going to start with 1 rotation. And again, I can't remember. That said, that'll be 25, but I think what that is 50 thousandths off the diameter. I believe that's 25 thousandths per side. So, oh, wrong way. Okay. So there's 25, and yeah, usually what I do is I'll bring it down with the quill until the tool touches, and then back off just a little. Go ahead and engage it, and then turn it on. Yeah, I believe that's 50 thousandths out of the hole. So usually have trouble trying to take big heavy cuts with that. So I'm going to be here a little while boring, but as So anyway, what I've decided to do is bore it to 3 inches. I thought about going to 4 inches, but that's going to be a whole lot of cutting that I just don't need to do. So the shaft is 2 7/8, so I'm going to bore it to 3 inch, and that'll give it 1/8 inch clearance, or 1/16 clearance all the way around the shaft. And I think that'll work just fine. All right. So just a bunch of cutting to do, from right here. So I won't show it all to you because I know that's going to get boring really quick. I'm just going to keep doing this right here, and I may start stepping it up and get a little heavier cuts going. But that's it right there. So I'll bring you back and give you an update as we get the hole to size, okay? All right, a little update. So right now we're bored to about 2 1/4. So we got about 3/4 of an inch to come out still. But what I did, I ran out of travel on my head, so I had to bring it back in. And this was the tool bit that I had in this bar, and I took it out because it was too long to begin with. So I stuck it back in here, and now I'm using it to finish the boring. And I think I got enough travel to go ahead and get it bored to size using that. But if I run out again, then this is the other tool bit I'll go back to, which will slide down through it like that and get it. So that's an update where we are. It's only been about half hour though, so it's going fairly quick. And the tool's cutting pretty good. I'll go ahead and give you another shot of a cut here. This one seems to be doing better than that last tool bit I had. But I'm using my cutting oil today because I've got my doors open. I've got a little bit of ventilation going through here, so it's going right on out the door. But you got to keep a little bit of lube on it for it to act right. Sometimes it tries to gum up on you and start rubbing if you don't lube it. Okay, so we'll bring you back in a little while. All right, I'm down to my last cut. I said we're gonna make it 3 inches. So first checked it with my calipers. I'm getting like, it was really close to 2 inch 940. So we're gonna have a little, you're about to see if I'm gonna get really lucky here. I'm about out of travel on my head, but we only need like another 50 thousandths. So that's gonna be 1 revolution on this. So I'm gonna see if I can get it out of there. But I'm just using my telescope gauge here. And a micrometer. And I was getting 948. Let me check it one more time. That time I got 947, but I thought it was 948. Yeah, I'm gonna say it was 948. So 52 thousandths anyway. And again, that's just a clearance hole. There's nothing fitting it, so it doesn't matter what it hits. So let's see. All right, it's on 0. Oh man, it didn't go quite far enough. Look at that. Dang it. All right. I thought I was going to get lucky on this one. So I'm going to have to bring it back and install my 1/2 inch tool bit, okay? I'm going to go ahead and you stick that in there like so. And what we can do is just run that down. All right, gravity's got it pushed against the wall there, the bore. Set screws way out, of course. All right, snug it. All right, so in theory that tool should be lined up with the edge, but I'm not going to take it all in one cut there. So I already had this set on 0 with the backlash eliminated. So let me just, I'm gonna take one cut and then I'll mic it and we'll take a finished cut. So I'll tell you what, I'll just go to 15, so that'll be 30 thou. Wrong wrench. Okay, put it in gear. Move these. All right, go ahead and get another measurement here using my telescope gauge. All right, that's 980. All right, 20 thousandths. All right, guys, we did good on our bore. I hit it on size the way we needed to, and so we're moving on to the hole pattern. All right, so this is the kind of bolt we're going to use. That's just an Allen cap head bolt. Socket head cap screw, I believe, is what they're officially called. So your the head diameter of these are usually a little under a nominal size. In this case, for a 1/2 inch bolt, it's a 3/4. But they've got it a little under so that you can use a 3/4 cutter to do your counter bore. And the thickness, the head thickness there is 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is my little set of counter bore tools that are designed for doing a counter bore for bolts like this. I've got them, it's a full set here, and this is a Greenfield, which I doubt you're going to find in the Greenfield set anymore. But I believe that's the biggest one I got in here, and it tells you on it. This is actually made by putting them a 1/2 inch by 3/4. So it has a 1/2 inch pilot, and then this will cut at 3/4. So what I have to do with these, if you want it to work correctly, you got to drill your hole on the right size. Okay, so I'm going to drill the hole initially 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go in there with my counter bore tool and countersink it properly, and then when I'm through with that, I'm going to go in there with another drill to drill it for clearance. That's just the way you got to do. If you drill it with a clearance, then this really isn't doing its job. It's kind of walking. All right, so I'll leave that out. But yeah, that's a nice set right there. I remember Dad bought this for us a long time ago, and it's been really worth it. That was a nice set. And my battery's about to die, I believe, so I'm going to have to probably pause this and go charge it. But I'm going to use my 1/2 inch collet for all this. I'm going to put my point in there. All right, I should have just enough clearance. And what I'll do is come down here and get it real close. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loosen up my my clamps. And that way the center can line it up on the punch mark. Okay. Snug the clamps back down. That looks good. All right, I'm gonna use my center drill just to spot it in. All right, I got my counterbore tool in there, and one way I'm going to do to make this a little quicker is I ran it on down there close, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it down onto this removable stop here. I'm going to feed the table up until I'm just touching with the tool. Okay, that's it right there. All right, and then I'm going to reset the 0 on my knee. I'm going to bring it up a 1/2 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that should be the depth right there for the that'll be the depth of the counterbore once I come down to this stop. Usually these counterbore tools, especially something like this, you always run them a little bit slower than normal. Less chance of burning the cutting edge up and make them last longer, because it's a little more of a specialty tool that you don't want to keep having to buy. Okay. All right, so I pulled the quill down onto my little removable stop, and that should be, I don't know if I got room here now. There you go, see? There's your 1/2 inch depth. So now I'm just going to swap this out for the next size drill. Let's see what we'll use here. I believe I'll go with the 33/64. 64th oversize of the bolt, and that should give us plenty of clearance for everything to line up. That's the only problem with a step pulley, guys. You gotta change that pulley speed all the time. And we're just gonna clean this hole up. One of our new drills. Remove the stop there. There we go. All right. I'm trying to hurry because my battery's about to die. But there's a bunch of chips down in there. But here we go. All right. I can't go down far enough. It's on the table, but you get the idea. So that's what I'm doing there. All right, so I got to go and do it 5 more times. All right, I'm gonna go charge my camera and we'll come back to you. All right, well, as you can see, I've got all of my hole pattern done now, and I apologize if you wanted to see more of that, but as I said, my battery's dead, and I like using my Hero 4 versus the Hero 3 because of the image quality. But I showed you the first one there, and all I did was just repeat it. And whenever I would come around here to my next punch mark and use my my center point, I'd get it really close with the table, and I would loosen both the clamps, and I'd come down with the quill and center the plate up on the point, and then tighten the clamps back up, and do the work, and then move over to the next one. So what I'm doing here, this is these two punch marks here. These are going to be drilled and tapped for the block that's going to bolt down here for the grounding block. So 2 1/2-13 tapped holes. Same thing I did with the casters. I'm not going to go all the way through. Just going to be a short blind hole, and I'll have to find some bolts to bolt that down there. So I've already got this one lined up here. So I'm getting ready to drill this first hole, and I'm going to show you. I use this clamp quite a bit. I don't want to go all the way through, so what I do is just set it. I've got it set for like 1/2 inch there. It'll move just a little bit further than that, and that's a quick way to set a proper depth when you don't have a little digital readout here or on the knee or anything like that. So that's how I'm watching my depth when I'm drilling. All right, we're going to use my spring-loaded center. I'll start with a plug tap, and then I'll finish it with this bottom tap right here. Alright guys, we got all of our drilling done. Let me pick you up so I can give you a little bit better shot there. So we finished our hole pattern, and in our 2 holes here, I'll show you how this is all going to work. So I wanted to go ahead and give the new Noga deburring tools a little try. Instead of using a chamfering tool, I wanted to use that. Let me grab my glasses. I got two of them there. I'm going to try. I haven't used these yet because I've been using the multi-burr. So this is the, your standard everyday deburring tool, and they always work good, just as this one done. Look at that, nice and smooth. It's actually cutting a nice chip on it right there. Oh yeah, that's doing great. So there's another one in that set like this here. This is another chamfering tool. It's kind of like a little countersink, and boy, them things are razor sharp. I thought I would give this one a try. It's right on the borderline of not working. It's a little too small, but it's right there where it'll work for a 3/4 though. That's probably maximum size is 3/4. That's doing pretty good too. You just got to get it held straight. Okay, it's doing it. So, back to the grounding issue, okay? This is what I come up with. And this is rough now. We're not finished with this. We still got plenty of machining to do. Okay, so here's our rough block that is going to bolt right here to those 2 tapped holes. We got a couple blocks or bolts right here. You see it moves around so you can align it. That's actually really nice to have that, so you can move it around, and then bolt it in, tighten it up. So that'll be bolted there. I'm going to do some milling, taper this down so that it's about anywhere from 3/4 to 7/8, somewhere in that range right here, to where my clamp will fit on this. Clamp it there. Okay, here's our copper flat bar, and what I'll be doing is drilling and tapping some holes in the side of this block, and then there'll be some holes drilled here. Okay, like so, and that's going to come across and touch our shaft right there. Another thing I'm going to have to do is narrow this block some. Right now it's exactly 3 inch, and our shaft is 2 7/8. So I've got to bring it down a little bit smaller than 2 7/8 so that it'll pinch. And then again, what we may try to do is form the end a little bit with a radius. So we'll work on that later on. So that's the general idea right there. And I think that'll work just fine. More than adequate. Put your ground clamp right here, and it'll transfer to the shaft and straight up to the faceplate. Okay, well, I'm going to go back to the table with it and put the tube up there and do a test fit on these. I probably got to use some hex head bolts because I need to go buy some socket head cap screws, and I haven't got them yet. But we'll do a test fit and make sure the tube's going to fit. Pretty thanks center. So as I said, I don't have the correct bolts yet. These are the ones that I got that I was going to use in the beginning, but we're going to use socket heads. But these will still work, just for a mock-up. One started. Alright, so there's one. Let's see if I can get the one on the opposite side started. Okay, feel a little wiggle there. Try another one here. It went, okay. Bolt number 4. Going. Five over here. Hey, I think we did something right, guys. Not too bad for my hand layout, huh? All right, number 6. There we go. Let's go. Well, there it is. Finally bolted down. Feels nice and smooth. I just dropped something down there. I don't know what it was. Huh. Anyway, I really want to slide that shaft down in this thing, but this is pretty high to be picking it up and trying to get it down in there. If this was on the floor, we could probably do that. So don't know if you're going to see it on this video yet. I really don't know. I wanted to get my floor cleaned up and swept up. It's really nasty right now, because as soon as I set it down on the floor, these casters are just going to start getting eat up. But I'm going to need it down on the floor to be able to drop that shaft down in here. But it did work out good, and I'm going to flip you upside down. You can see the bolts there. They all lined up good. Alright, well, I don't know where this one's going to end, but I'm going to say that's all for now, and we're going to move on and do a final fit, okay? And we'll show you some more of it assembled later, okay? And I hope you've been enjoying watching this series. See you later.